Hi everybody, I see people streaming in, so we're going to give everybody a few minutes to arrive, and I'm really looking forward to sharing this material with you, and I'm hoping that you're going to find it extremely beneficial for whether you're a parent or student. I will ask Sydney to launch the poll. Please complete the poll so that I know what grade you or your children are in, and that will help me also to angle the talk to be of the most use to you. So please complete the poll when you, as soon as you can, so I can see those results. So I'll just give a couple more minutes and then we can get started. Now for Q&A, you'll be using the Q&A, not the chat. So just, as we go along, make a note of your questions, and I'll be very happy to answer them. And then whatever I can't answer today, then you can contact me offline or participate in the free strategy session that I'm going to be offering. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your questions and concerns. All right, well, let's get started. So if you are thinking about college planning for your kids, or if you're a student and you're thinking about college planning, you have definitely come to the right place. Welcome. My name is Anjali Maazel. I'm a former Princeton University interviewer, TED Talk speaker, and college admissions expert. I'm also the very proud mom of a thriving 23-year-old now in grad school. At Anja Education Consultants, we've helped hundreds of students get into their top perfect match schools, including Yale and Stanford, Johns Hopkins and Vanderbilt, and Swarthmore, UT and UT Austin, to name just a few. As a Princeton University interviewer, I learned what colleges are looking for in a student and how an applicant can stand out from the crowd. And as a parent, I learned how important it is to teach our kids that college is just one step in designing a life of purpose. It's not an end in itself or a destination. So again, if you haven't completed the poll, please do so. And Sydney, our wonderful moderator, I'm going to ask her to paste the link to our free strategy 30-minute strategy session. If you're a student, please be sure that you have a parent with you at this session, so choose a time that will be convenient. And the session is really designed to see if working with me would make sense for you, and which kind of service I might be able to provide going forward. So, going back to my experience as a Princeton interviewer and as a parent, so what does this experience mean for you? Well, visualize this. It's October 15th of your teen's senior year in high school. Because they submitted their 10 to 15 high-quality applications early, they have their first acceptances rolling in, and they have gotten the scholarship you were hoping for. So now you have the funds, the time, and peace of mind to plan that winter break vacation that you've been fantasizing about for a few years. You're thinking mountain or beach, domestic or international. Of course, this is post-COVID, but anyway, mountain or beach, domestic or international, that's what you're thinking about. And in this scenario, what is your child thinking about on October 15th of their senior year? Instead of being close to burnout by juggling applications with schoolwork and extracurriculars and other responsibilities, instead of dreading winter break because they're going to be cramming their applications and submitting subpar essays, they are now free to pursue the academic and extracurricular activities that mean the most to them. And additionally, because the first term of senior year is often looked at by admissions in terms of grades, your kids will have the energy to perform well in school instead of getting exhausted by trying to juggle the applications at the same time. So timing is really key, and earlier is better. And that's tip number 1. For outstanding applications, focus the timeline on when applications open, which is generally in August, not when they close, generally December to January. The reason is that rolling admissions, which means first come, first serve, is more and more becoming the way colleges are admitting students, whether they say it or not. Some colleges don't say that they're rolling admissions, but in fact, that's what's happening. So how do you get ready to submit those standout applications close to when the applications open instead of when they close? So toward the end of this webinar, I'm going to share the blueprint that I've developed over many years to help you with that planning. So first, I'm going to introduce you to the steps with one case study, 3 case studies, and 1 tip for each. Again, please, your questions, put them in the Q&A. Be sure to fill out the poll, which is going to close in not too long, to tell me what grade you are in or your students are in. So the first case is going to be Tony's story. Now, Tony came to me in his sophomore year, and he was very, very good in math. And he said, yeah, my parents and teachers and everybody keeps saying to me I should be an engineer. And he said it kind of deflated. He was kind of slumping in his chair and clearly not excited about this at all. And then he added, kind of apologetically, he said, and I also do art. So I dug a little bit and started to see some of his artwork and saw that he really had some talent. So I connected him to an art mentor locally where he lived and sent him to the Rhode Island School of Design for the summer between his junior and senior year. And when he came back from that summer, he said to me, I know exactly what I want to do. I want to go into architecture. And the reason is that I can combine my skill in math with my love of art and bring them together. So the upshot is he wrote his applications around that and shared his art portfolio. He's now a student at Rice University in architecture. He turned down a $100,000 scholarship to Tulane, but Rice was his first choice. So this particular story is really about how to choose the perfect match majors for your child, or if you're a student, for yourself. His GPA, by the way, Tony's, was quite high. He had a 4.0, high test scores, and all of that. However, it was in finding himself through the choice of summer planning and extracurricular activities that he was able to make those applications really stand out. After he had done that, then we could find a list of his perfect match colleges to apply to. And the benefits of this approach are that he received guidance in career and major planning, which saved his parents time and money in college because he had greater clarity going in. Now, how do you think it would have gone if he had majored in engineering? You know, he might have changed his mind halfway through, or he might have pushed through and then ended up 10, 15, 20 years later or 5 years later very unhappy and looking for something else. So this kind of clarity can be helpful. It doesn't mean students have to know what they're going to do. It just means we set them on a path to discover their talents, to see how they can combine their talents. So the tip here is ask your teen. Instead of asking your teen, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? It's a very classic question. Ask them and notice what lights them up and what problems or issues or needs in the world do they want to address. For artists, it's a little different because those needs are not necessarily a problem to solve. But like for an architect who combines the technical and the artistic, it can be, finding new ways of bringing beauty to the world. And that can turn into a very lucrative career. So that sweet spot, help them discover the sweet spot between what they're good at and what they love. And the choice of extracurricular and summer planning is crucial here because it gives them feedback, right? And it helps them prepare for those college applications by creating a great resume and, portfolio of different, in different fields. So this is one place where expert guidance early on can really make all the difference. Now let's look at another student who I worked with last year, Ellen. And this one is really about how to tell a compelling story in the applications. So Ellen is now a business major at Emory University, and she was in a slightly different position than Tony because she came in with a high B average, and she needed scholarships. So how were we going to deal with that particular set of circumstances and help her to write outstanding applications and maximize her chances of success? Well, we focused on telling her story in two aspects. First of all, how she improved her GPA over the 3 years through hard work and initiatives that she took outside of class. For example, she sought out a mentor in a field that she was interested in, which was chemistry, but that she struggled in. So that was one aspect. And she also took challenging classes. For example, she took organic chemistry, even though, again, this was not her forte, but she was interested. And that demonstrated rigor. So that was one of the two aspects, was the rigor and the hard work and taking initiative. The second aspect, which came into the story, was her extracurricular experience in yearbook, which she combined with an internship at a startup incubator. Now, how do those two go together? Well, in yearbook, she was leading a team, so she needed to develop, and she developed very strong managerial skills, leadership skills, which she then tested out in this startup incubator internship. So when it was time to tell her story in the application, she was able to weave together her talents and her experience, and this got her admission to her top school, which was Emory, as well as 12 scholarship offers ranging from $20,000 to $100,000. So the tip here for all of you, parents, students, is to see that 3-year journey at the end of junior year, 9th, 10th, and 11th grades, as a story. How do your kids' academic interests and extracurricular activities fit together? How can the threads be combined to reveal who they are, what their talents are? So this first step in this process is taking an interest and strengths assessment. And the step 2, and the interest and strengths assessment, by the way, is checks their what they are interested in, but also their aptitudes, and then compares that to a database of people in different fields. So it's very, very in-depth and can be quite accurate. And then the step 2 is to have a brainstorming session with you if you're the parent, right? And it's all about story that ties in with who they really are, their authentic selves. And by the way, you'll see authentic self on a lot of these admission websites, and you'll think, oh my gosh, this is such a buzzword. It's so annoying, right? But in fact, what's interesting about that is if you let go of the fact that, yes, it's on a lot of these websites, it's actually an opportunity for students to start through this process of the college planning and applications to start to understand what they really want, what they really care about, and to start putting or planning college as one step in the kind of life that they want to have. So actually, goes way beyond the buzzword. Now, the benefit here is if you apply this idea of the storytelling and combining the interests, the results are optimized admissions and financial savings through scholarships, and also peace of mind. So next, I would like to talk to you about Maria and Grace. Grace is a student I worked with last year. Now, I am seeing that it's 6:15. I would like to see the poll. So here we go. So we've got half of you are parents, half of you are students. Okay, great. And then most of you are 11th grade or kids, parents with kids in 11th grade, some 12th graders, some 9th graders. Very good. Okay, very good. Again, if you sign up for the discovery session that will unlock discount to my services, and you're a student, please be sure you have a parent with you, at least one parent at the session. Okay, so Grace. Now, Grace I worked with last year, and Grace, I want to tell you the story, but I'm going to actually have them tell you the story in a very short video. They experienced those savings that I just talked about with Ellen, the savings and the peace of mind in the college admissions process. And right after that, we're going to discuss how ACT versus SAT testing and the test optional strategy played into Grace's success. She mentions a scholarship. In the end, that was a yearly scholarship she's going to mention, but in fact, it was a 4-year scholarship for $80,000 to her first choice, and she turned down a $199,000 scholarship to her second choice school. So let's get right into it, and here are Grace and her mom, Maria.
Hi everyone, I'm Grace Sorenson, and I'm a long-term client of Miss Anjali. We began working my freshman year. Right away, she got to know my family, my passions, and what I saw myself doing beyond just the years of college.
I have to agree. I'm Maria, and I'm Grace's mom. And I would have to say the best thing about Anjali and working with her is that she's super organized. She uses a lot of technological tools that keep us organized with calendars and scheduling. What I loved is that she made Grace responsible for all of it. So selfishly, I didn't have to do all of that. And I actually love that she made her become very independent and very responsible for her learning and for her goals and reaching them. We love her dearly, and
Absolutely.
We are very grateful for her because she goes far beyond just academic learning and growth.
And I'm so proud to say and so thankful to be able to say that in these 4 years, thanks to her help with my applications, I was able to get a $20,000 scholarship to my top pick school, which is California Institute of the Arts, also known as CalArts. So thank you, Miss Anjali, for everything that you've done for me. We love you so much, and we can't wait to see what other lives you get to change. Thank you.
So that was Grace's story, and how that worked, in fact, for Grace was that the ACT and the SAT, which she actually didn't mention, came into the conversation in this way. I had given her an SAT versus ACT diagnostic test, which is extremely useful because it helps students see which of the two they can score higher on. Now, students don't have to take both the SAT and the ACT because colleges accept both. So planning that carefully, planning it in advance, is a huge advantage. When we got the results back from this, she didn't score very high. So because of the test optional landscape that has been accelerated by COVID, we decided to withhold the scores from the schools and have her apply test optional. Now, let me just be a little bit clear about the test optional landscape. This is extremely important. Test optional means that if you send your scores to schools, they will look at them, but they are not required. So if you don't send them in, they're going to look at the other parts of your application with greater emphasis. Some of the schools are test blind, which means they won't look at all, and we'll get into that in a minute. And some of them are test flexible, like NYU. So I will explain this in a moment. Now, be very strategic. This is the tip, okay? Be very strategic about your test optional options. Use the 50th percentile as a guide. So the 50th percentile of scores, whether you're taking the SAT or the ACT, schools publish what their last admitted class and their last couple of admitted classes scored, the 50th percentile. If you're at the top, or your child is at the top of that, then it's usually a good idea to submit the score. If your child is at the bottom, then it is usually not a good idea to submit the score. If your child has a score in the middle, then we have to look at the entire application strategy to make a decision. Generally, it's really only advantageous at the top. Now, there are schools, it's also very important to distinguish between schools that have just gone test optional the last couple of years because of COVID, and those that have been traditionally test optional or test flexible, like Smith College or NYU, for example. And now the University of California system, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, etc., have gone test blind. That means even if you send the scores, then they're not going to look at them. So there's a difference between traditionally test flexible schools that know how to evaluate applicants without test scores and just going for, test optional because it's available. This is an important decision, so it needs to be done strategically. You can also use the PSAT test, taken generally in sophomore year and junior year, as a guide to see where the SAT might score if the SAT is in fact the test that you are likely to score higher on. However, sometimes that is not very accurate, because if you take it sophomore year, between sophomore and junior year, there's a lot of math that comes into play. So that can sometimes be misleading. So that's why I find the diagnostic more helpful. Now, one thing to know, make no mistake, these tests are not aptitude tests, SAT and ACT. They are testing how much prep you have done. Now, there can be some exceptions, like students who naturally are very good test takers and they connect the dots by osmosis and they just go in and take the test and ace it, and that's great. Or there's students who can prepare with free resources like Khan Academy. That's great. A lot of the students that I work with tend to need the accountability and the organization that working with a test prep tutor who is experienced can give. So that is good to know. They are called aptitude tests, but they do not predict college readiness. And colleges know this, so much so that the trend is toward test optional. Sooner or later, they will be phased out. However, for now, we are in this system and we need to be strategic about the testing. Okay, very good. So you might be wondering now, how do all of these pieces fit together? How do all of these pieces on the application fit together? And when your child, especially your juniors, should be doing what to really ace college admissions and produce standout applications and perfect match college lists. So over the years, I've developed a proven blueprint for what to do and when, which I want to share with you. And I want to show you how you can access it as well. Now, after that, I'm going to be sharing final practical tips, do's and don'ts. So please stick around until the end of the webinar, because the very end is going to be extremely useful as well. And at this point, Sydney, if you could, our wonderful moderator, if you would be kind enough to post that link again, If you sign up in the next 24 hours, you'll not only get a free strategy session with me to explore possibly working together, but you'll get significant discounts on my services. So let's look at the blueprint.
Hi, everyone.
And sorry about that. That was a technical moment. Okay, so the blueprint is explained in my packages. So, for example, the 11th and 12th grade packages, it's combined, it's a 2-year package. I have two. One is the comprehensive package and the premium package, and I will show you the difference. So, the comprehensive package involves weekly meetings in 11th grade spring and summer before 12th, and monthly at all other times. And whether you're working with me or not, this part of the blueprint is about accountability and organization. So organization is your friend. Spreadsheets are your friends. Be sure that in this process, in this planning, you make use of that. Then I give students the cutting edge interest and strength assessment, which I mentioned before, the most in-depth tests available. This really helps for them to explore whether they know what they want to do already. It gives them some, different ways that they might be able to use those majors or explore different careers related to the majors. Or if they really don't know what they want yet, that's fine. That will start the conversation and start us on the path of being able to identify those majors and those careers. And their results are compared to the results of people in the fields. So therefore, it can be extremely accurate. Then the next step is to really analyze the transcripts, the tutoring recommendations. If there are any gaps, that's what I mean by tutoring recommendations. Look at the grades, see if there's any gaps to be filled, and see how that might be addressed in some way between now and when the applications are submitted. I also look at curriculum. I help students make choices about courses. Those are important because they can either help students or hinder students in their goals. And then the extracurriculars. So really focusing, as we saw in the stories, right? Are the extracurriculars and are the summer activities helping the students to really understand what matters to them, what they want, and find that sweet spot between aptitude and passion, right? So that planning is extremely important. And summer between junior and senior year is key. So that's where, again, some expert guidance can be very helpful. And in those planning, the planning, it can be research programs, it can be mentorships, it can be study, summer study, it can be personal projects. There are many ways of exploring those talents and showcasing a student's strengths in the applications to maximize results. And then what I call Life Skills Bootcamp, which is all the communication aspect. Now, these are key because these are going to be useful to students after the application process. Things like resumes, which many schools are asking for, interview prep. So the interview can play a role in this process. I help students, as a former Princeton interviewer, I have a lot of experience, so I help students prepare for the interviews. And then email and phone strategies and even social media are ways to connect with the colleges, with the admissions staff, to start to stand out from the crowd a little bit. And there are ways to do it. They're not complicated, but it needs to be done in a way that really expresses the student's interest for the school in a polite and respectful way. And these are not things that students learn in school, unfortunately. So this is very, very important, again, not only for applications, but then later on for applying for internships, summer jobs, etc. And then after we've done all of that, we're able to create a best fit college list. And this is the perfect match, right? It's not only the student's preferences about location, about size of the school, and campus culture, but it's also going to look at admission trends data and how the student's profile fits in with that, and also, you know, the criteria. What is a student really looking for? What kind of school is going to help that student thrive? That's what we want, because we're not just focusing on getting in, right? Getting in can be a short-sighted and exhausting ordeal, and usually very disappointing. If we focus instead on, you know, where is the student going to be for the next 4 years? Is this place that they're going to be going to allow them to reach their full potential, to be comfortable enough to connect with, you know, the community, etc.? It's very important. And then we will organize some kind of SMART testing plan, which will be based on the results of the diagnostic SAT versus ACT. This package includes 10 applications, 10 colleges, and the essays are another opportunity for students to tell their story. So it's extremely important to have them really go as far as they can in connecting the dots for the admission team, so that the admissions team isn't working extra hard to understand the student, because the average time that they spend, the admission staff, on reading each application is 8 minutes. A big survey was sent out, 8 minutes per application. Therefore, you know, standout essays can be very helpful. And then that includes, by the way, honors essays and all summer program applications, essays. So in this package, everything is covered, whether it's college applications, summer program applications, internship, competitions, anything. That is all covered, including all the essays. And then advanced application strategies. If a student is placed on the wait list, then I help with that. I've had very good success in helping kids get off the wait list. And scholarship negotiation. That is a way to leverage different offers, but it needs to be done in the right way to really have the maximum impact. And throughout this, what really sets me apart as a counselor, and whether you work with me or not, focusing on both growth mindset and purpose are two aspects that are so intrinsic to this blueprint for college admission success, and even success beyond that. Growth mindset is really about looking at setbacks as a learning opportunity, and looking at college as one step in designing a life that you want. So these are extremely important. Now, this whole package from 11th to 12th grade includes about 60 to 100 hours of engagement, whether it's looking at all the essays. You know, colleges have between 1 and 5 essays generally, and if you add honors essays and other things, it can be more than that. So that adds up. So the hours are including all the feedback on each draft of the essay, and all the steps that we've covered, and that cost then is for both 11th to the 12th grade combined is $8,997, and as a NHSS webinar participant, I'm offering a $500 discount if you sign up, in the next 24 hours for that 30-minute one-on-one free strategy session that will help us explore which package would be good for you, and also how I might be able to help in this process. And again, if you're a student signing up for this, please be sure you have a parent with you. And Sydney, would you please put that link once again into the chat? Thank you. So that was the comprehensive package. Now the blueprint for the premium package is everything we've just gone over. It includes the comprehensive, but in addition, there's a full test prep of 18 hours for either the SAT or the ACT, unlimited meetings, and 5 additional applications. So 15 colleges in total, whereas the comprehensive has 10. And this one is $12,697, And the breakdown you can see, and then the savings by, instead of getting all of these things separately, is already $600 and over $600. And with the discount, that would bring the savings to over $1,000. So it's a very good way to bundle things together and save. Now, if your students, I saw a very small percentage of you have students in 10th grade, or you who are students in 10th grade. I also have a package for you all, and very much focused on talent development. So I'm not going to go through it in great detail, but if you meet with me, I can go through this much more. But basically the idea is to position students through selecting extracurriculars, the courses, everything that goes into the preparation in the college planning process, position them so when they get to 11th and 12th grade, they are in a great position for their college applications to really ace the process and be able to do extremely well. I work with a lot of students starting even earlier for those parents who have kids in middle school or early high school, and that can be a very good way to get that process started. So this one is $1,997 and it's paid through 10th grade, but I'm offering a $200 discount again if you sign up in the next 24 hours and meet with me, and so we can discuss. So that is the idea. Now please stick around because I'm going to be sharing tips, the tips that I have really developed over this entire time. And once we're done with that, you'll have a chance to ask your questions. So the final tips that I want to share with you. Be sure that you have taken that link, by the way, that we put in the chat, and signed up for the free session so that you have access to the discount. Okay, the final tips. Some do's and don'ts. The main thing that I don't want you to do is this. Now, for parents, you're going to recognize this. This is Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. Students don't generally recognize, but basically her motto was, I'll think about it tomorrow. Don't do that. Instead, I want you to look through that process of putting it off, and also look through the myths. I don't want you to buy into these myths. So look at these 3 statements. My children need to get into a top 10 to 100 ranked school to be successful in life. If they don't get into X school, their life will be ruined. If they don't become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, they will be poor. Okay? These are false. Now, this is not my opinion. This is based on data from the World Economic Forum and the McKinsey report, 2 very reliable sources. And they have shown that the best predictors of success are not school rank, but being closely mentored by professors in college, because that gives the student a connection and also a future career connection that can be extremely useful, a sense of belonging, and also engaging with the college community in an active way, another way to foster a sense of belonging. Why is that sense of belonging important? Because there has been a link between GPA and this sense of belonging. So correlation. The studies that I mentioned before, World Economic Forum and McKinsey report, those are about the skills that actually the third part of this, choosing work that is in line with the 21st century job skills, things that you, and not robots, not machine learning, or AI are going to be able to replace you with. So those, the McKinsey report and World Economic Forum, has to do with that. The 2 first ones actually come from studies done at many different universities that support this idea. So because this is true, this opens up a whole realm of possibilities for your kids. So another thing that I want you to do, So you know what not to do, right? And the myths that you don't buy into, and putting it off. But what I do want you to do is focus on fit, the perfect match schools for you and for your kids, and if your students, for you, right? How is that fit? The financial fit, the academic fit, the cultural fit, all of these different things, because we want the kids to thrive. That's the main thing. The other thing is reframe the college application process, as I have said from the beginning, as one step in designing a life of purpose. And teach growth mindset. If you don't know about it, go and look it up. It's really powerful in the process of, because it's an arduous process, the college planning and application process. There may be setbacks, and growth mindset helps students deal with that in a constructive way. Timeline is key. As I said in the beginning, deadlines should be about when applications open, not when they close. And if you plan in advance, this is absolutely possible. And then support kids in not being okay, in being okay with not knowing what they want yet, or what their passions are, and actually help them take the steps to find out. So that's where the summer planning, the extracurriculars, the internships, the mentorships, research opportunities, all of these possibilities, community engagement, volunteering is such a great way of getting feedback from the real world about our strengths and our passions and our sense of mission in the world. And celebrate the Renaissance kids, the kids who have multiple interests. There are some amazing majors out there and careers where kids can combine majors that seem very disparate. Places like Carnegie Mellon, where they have some very unusual combinations of majors, and which leads to creative careers that you might not think of right off the bat. And then make sure that application strategy is in line with who students really are. Tie in, make sure the story, it's really about telling your story, and tie in those extracurriculars and the career goals. And it will be organic if the focus is on purpose and self-reflection and growth mindset, and not on getting in. A couple of more points I want to make. Demonstrated interest. It's true that you can reconcile a student's authentic sense of what they want in life and what kind of contribution they want to make, to reconcile that with the college's strategic enrollment management. The way to do that is really find that perfect match college list, and then really engage with the colleges that you are most interested in. Clicks count. They send you an email. Don't ignore it. They are tracking. They are businesses. They are using software, and the reason they do this is they want to predict, out of the students that are admitted, how many students are going to enroll. This number, that percentage, is the magic number for them. It's called yield, and it even affects their U.S. News and World Report ranking. So for them, this is super important, and one way that you can help them see how passionate you are about the school is to really engage. And then cleaning up digital footprint is very important. There have been stories in the news about the students that get rescinded admission offers because there are some questionable things on their social media. This is super important, but it goes way beyond that. Connect with professors in field of interest, because you can use social media to your advantage. I have students create a LinkedIn profile. Now more and more high school students have LinkedIn profiles. And through that, there's a way to connect with professors and colleges. And some students have found that enhances their admissions results. So document early. There are many different ways to do that, through a portfolio, a personal website, or a platform called LinkedIn. The coalition application even has a locker where you can upload videos. So this is really important to keep track of accomplishments, because the idea is then to showcase everything that you've done in a way that's going to be easy, accessible, and quick to see when you're thinking that these admissions people are spending 8 minutes on an application. So we want to give them, want to make it easy for them. And then go deeper, not wider, on your extracurriculars. Whether you're in 10th grade, your students are in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. Help them strive for the mastery and the focus on process. Mastery of skills and focus on process, not on results. And to focus on the joy of mastery, because that's when you can shift student stress, because that's really one of the things that I really try to help students and parents do, is find, this is not about more. I know I've presented a lot of material. The reason I present a lot of material is that you will pick and choose the things that are useful. Don't take this as a way of getting even more stressed out. That's not the point, because really, what do we want in the end? Right? We want students who are going to be well mentally, physically. This is the most important thing, because from that everything else comes. And then the last thing is, try to rely on informed guidance as early as possible. It is very useful. It can streamline the process, take the stress out, and give results that you can be very powerful. So what we want, so again, here I'm going to remind you, please sign up, go to that link, and so that you can benefit from the discount, and our meeting will be about how I might be able to help, discussing these and other packages, that the ones I presented before. Basically, what are we looking for our kids? What do we want for our kids? What I want as a counselor, what I have wanted as a parent, and which I'm sure that all of you as parents want, is really having kids who are thriving, right? Who are discovering their talents, who are building a joyful and successful life of purpose. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share this material with you. It is extremely close to my heart. I really love what I do, and I feel it's very important to give this message that there is another way to approach the college planning and application process. So now I am going to, we're going to go to the Q&A. And let me see if I can find the Q&A. I see the Q&A. Okay, very good, very good. So I see, and then I'll look in the chat, because I see a few of you have possibly put something in the chat. So Stacy, my son is in 10th grade. When is the best time to start sending college applications? Yes, so that is a very, that has to be personalized. The sooner the better, in the sense that many of the colleges do work on rolling admissions. They start, the first come first serve idea is that they're allocating spots in their freshman class and scholarships on a rolling basis as students submit their applications. Some of the colleges, they don't say they're on a rolling basis, but they actually are. I mean, I'll give you an example. UT Austin is a perfect example of that. I've had students submit applications in August, and by September, October, they already have their answer. So if they're filling up their classes, then that means they're rolling, but they don't say they're rolling. So anyway, that's just one example. So in answer to your question, I do have to see exactly where your son is at. I can't, it's not that I don't want to answer. It's just, we don't want to stress students. We don't want students to be overburdened during their junior year and the summer before their junior and senior year. We don't want that. But we also don't want them having to juggle everything their senior year. So it's a balance, and I really take the time to get to know the student. I interview them very carefully to know when, what is that timeline going to be? I provide a personalized timeline to all the students that I work with, so that the tasks are done in a way that protects the mental health and the well-being of students. So, and by the way, if I don't answer your question, please feel free to reach out to me offline. Okay, 10th grade student, no clue what to do. Yes, how to figure out what I love. How can I work on finding the perfect major? Yes. So some of the stories that I told today illustrate how to, first of all, starting with that interest and strength assessment can really be helpful to start sending you on that path. What I do with students is I interview them, because I also have a lot of experience, so I'm able to start to see, what might be directions that you would go in. So the interest and strength assessment can be one way to start, and then when you participate in internships, or when you participate in extracurriculars, you're going to get feedback about what you really love, whether you like that activity, whether you didn't like that activity. So the important thing is to get involved in things. If you're not sure, take a little bit of time to explore and experiment. Again, I can't tell you exactly because I don't know you, and so I can't give you those precise steps, but what I can do is tell you that the solution is to combination of interest and strengths assessment, and to explore by participating in things like volunteer activities in a way that connects your strengths with a need in the community. That can be one way to do it. Okay. Yes, so another question, purity. If someone can't participate in extracurriculars, does it determine one's chances of getting into college? There are many different ways to experience life. One of them is through all these kinds of interesting extracurriculars, summer programs, etc. Another is through family responsibilities. Not all students have the time. Some students have to work. Other students have a lot of family responsibilities. So as long as a student is engaged in helping their community, and their community can be their family, as long as a student is actively engaged in that, that's absolutely fine. So don't worry about that it has to be extracurriculars in the classic sense of the word. It's really about allowing students, encouraging students to put their heart into their activities, and whether it's helping at home, working jobs, or other activities. Okay, so I live in Texas. How do you combine a love for history and poetry with a projected career in medicine? And how do you find the best scholarships? That's a great question. Love of history and poetry. If you look at the majors that go look at the majors that are most popular for applicants in medical school, and you'll see that a good number of them are not biology or biochemistry majors, right? There are a lot of liberal arts majors, and if you combine volunteering during college with a liberal arts major, it can be very powerful application to medical school. So think outside the box and allow yourself to really explore what the options are. Now, to give you a specific idea, of how to do this, again, I would really have to get to know you to see, but that's the basic framework. Okay, Stacy, how exactly does a 16-year-old know or discover what their authentic self is? Very good question. This is not about expecting students who are teenagers to have a life purpose or to, understand themselves 100%. I find that very often boys have, tend to have more difficulty, with the self-reflection part because that's just not the training, that they get, and that's not the way that we are socialized. So it's not about that. It's really about giving students the opportunity to slowly discover who they are. Now, Stacy, I don't know how old your 16-year-old, in what grade your 16-year-old is, but that, could determine how to best advise them. And it's through testing themselves out in different situations in the world, whether, again, it's extracurriculars, family responsibilities, volunteering, jobs. There are all sorts of ways that students can begin to discover what really matters to them. And that is, that's what we mean by authentic selves. What matters to them, what they're most interested in, and what kind of life they want. And all of that can be slowly figured out. What I do with students is I ask them, I give them self-reflection process, exercise, and that plants the seeds, that sets them on the course for this future. Do you offer paid services to help students with college admissions process? Yes, so please be sure to sign up for the meeting on the link that I gave you. You'll get a 30-minute strategy session to discuss how I might be able to help and to show you what my different services are, some of which I discussed today, but I have others as well. That was for Rosemary. And then Lindy, yes, what is the exact diagnostic test? So the students that I work with, I have a diagnostic test that I've developed, and it is a 3-hour test, and it gives SAT and ACT questions, and then there is a way to see and to determine at the end whether a student is more likely to score higher on the ACT or the SAT. The ACT and the SAT are very different tests. The ACT is much more kind of quick-paced, straightforward questions. SAT has some more trick questions and is slower paced. So, I can't tell you exactly because you'd actually have to take the test, but I'm very happy to connect you to that test offline. That's part of one of my services. So, feel free to sign up if that is something that interests you. Okay, 11th grader. To what extent standardized tests, GPA, and rank tend to influence the overall consideration of our application? Also, is it true that taking the ACT is better for students who would want to get scholarships for more science-heavy majors? Okay, so the standardized tests, as I said in the talk, are one point of the criteria that colleges use to assess an applicant. The criteria that are at the top are rigor of the course of the curriculum that a student has taken over the course of high school, and grades that they have gotten. Those are the most important. The scores can be very helpful if you score well. You can also apply to traditionally test optional schools that have been not looking at tests for many years. So they are very familiar with how to assess a student without the score. So it's a very personalized kind of question. And when I work with students, I really, we take them through these different assessments, conversation with them, and then we decide on a strategy. So think about it very carefully in that sense. And rank is interesting because rank, colleges, a college can't admit 100 students from a school. They can't. So whether they admit to it or not, rank is actually going to play into it. Now, how much is it going to play into it? It's not the only factor, but it's going to be one of them. And the day that colleges publish in a transparent way exactly the weighting of each element, right, then we will have a transparent admission system. Right now, it's not like that. So we kind of have to maximize every single part of the application to increase the chances of admission and scholarship. And then ACT is better for students who want to get scholarships. ACT versus SAT, colleges look at those two tests the same. ACT, in fact, having come later, is considered a slightly more rigorous test, but that's made up in the SAT by higher SAT scores. So don't think about it like that. It's really, where are you going to score higher? That's the important thing. Okay, Amy. Are there any drawbacks to attending a smaller local college the first year before applying to a final school once the student has a better idea of what they want to do? So, the idea of going even to a community college can be a very viable option for some students, and the reason is that they can, families can save money, right? By going to a local community college. It can also help if the students' grades haven't been that great. I don't know if your question is specifically about community college or, a four-year college, or a college that gives an associate's degree, which is a 2-year, then they would have to transfer. I think that, for some students, starting out in a community college can be absolutely the right choice. Again, it's not that I don't want to answer the question. It's just that I wouldn't be doing my job if I just gave you a black and white answer. I have to talk to the student and the family to understand, what are the needs, financial fit, all of that kind of stuff, and then we can make a decision. Let's see, Mary is a part-time. Oh no, that's in the chat. I was looking at the chat. Okay, but Mary's asking. Okay, I saw the job. Is a part-time job more important to prioritize over volunteer work in 11th grade? I don't think there's a right or wrong to this. It has to really fit in with the family's needs, the students' needs. Sometimes a job can be fantastic. I've had lots of kids write essays about their jobs, working in retail or in a restaurant. It can be good. I wouldn't make that decision like volunteer versus job. Again, it has to be personalized with a student. If I were to give you advice, I would want to see everything: transcript, list of activities, and talk to you or to your, I'm not sure if you're the parent or student, but anyway, to talk to the student more. Okay, Anonymous, why are the packages so expensive? So the packages involve many hours of engagement. As I said, 60 to 100 hours. This is hours that I spend with the students. And because 100% of my clients since 2014 have gotten scholarships ranging from $12,000 to $276,000, and the average scholarship of my students since 2014 has been $80,000. My fees are covered many times over. So even the premium package for $12,000, worst case scenario, parents break even. But usually, as I say, the average scholarship of my students since 2014 has been $80,000. So parents are hiring me to not only give them a high return on investment, so they'll pay me, but then you get the savings in the scholarships, but also to facilitate the admissions process, to give them peace of mind, to have an expert partner in the process. Policies are changing a lot, and in the COVID landscape, things change very quickly. So there is value to this, and the value has been proven. So it is a good question. If you are a student or a parent who there's absolutely no way that you'd be able to afford me, I never want to turn somebody away without giving them resources. So contact me offline. I will send you a list of volunteer mentors and all sorts of things that you can benefit from. It's a totally different experience, getting a volunteer mentor from a very reputable organization and working with me, former Princeton interviewer, etc. However, the students can also do very well that way. So I just want you to know that I will I will send you those resources. I never want to send anybody away without feeling that they have something, that they can use. So please do contact me. Okay, so for schools who said they are test blind, should we still? No. Test blind means they're not going to look at the scores. Don't send them. That is a total waste of your money and your time. How serious is college debt, and how worried should I be about it? Okay, so that is something that, again, is very personal to you and to your set of requirements and to the financial fit. It can be a huge problem for some families. I try with everything that I do to save families money. That's why they hire me, because if they spend the money with me, then I save the money on the other side. However, again, if I'm not somebody that you're going to be able to work with, no worries. Send me a note. I will send you some free resources so that you can try to avoid debt. I don't want anybody to have college debt, and there are ways around it. But so do avail yourself of that. Is it possible to get into an Ivy Division II or Division III school? Test optional. Yes, it is possible. It is absolutely possible. Now, again, in order for me to say, is it a good idea for you to do that? I would have to see the test. I'd have to see the diagnostic. I'd have to see your grades. I'd have to see your list of activities, because, we want to personalize this. But yes, it is possible. Okay. My son is Vanitha. My son is a student athlete and busy doing summer training and competitions. This doesn't provide a lot of time for internships. Are internships important? I'm worried about being stressed with all activities. Yes. So a student athlete is in a slightly different category. Contact me offline, and I can tell you more about that. But basically, a student athlete who is being recruited, their focus is on maximizing their athletic performance. That's the whole goal here. Okay, I've worked with student athletes before, and the focus there has to be on that. There's very little time between serious, recruitable athlete level of engagement in sports and time for other things. So they're in but again, we have to distinguish between those who are going to be recruited and those who just, are involved in sports. Those are two completely different profiles. So if a student is not going to be recruited, then we have to try to work other stuff in. However, stress, absolutely not. If it's overscheduled, it's not a good idea. Basically, that's what it boils down to. Okay. Lynette, do I offer? Yes, I can. You can contact me. Let me put. Can you? Let's see. I think I can put my email for those of you who are not exploring packages, who want just the interest or strength assessment. There is a fee, but you can definitely contact me. And we can set that up. So that was Lynette. Lynette, I am putting my email address in the chat, and that goes for the ACT versus SAT diagnostic. So, okay, as well. So all colleges are first come, first serve. Not all colleges, no. There are colleges that will only start reading applications after the deadline. And, to know which are which, some of that is experience with over the last years with how those admission results are coming in. With COVID, a lot of schools are trying to protect their yield. Now, the most selective colleges in the country have had a surge of applications. So they're not too worried about that. And a lot of those schools are waiting until the deadline, but it's not always the case. So again, it's got to be really personalized to that perfect match college list. And then we can see, which of them are more likely to be first come, first serve, and which are just kind of going to be all reading the applications after the deadline. Okay, are dual enrollment classes beneficial? They can be, yeah, they absolutely can be. Now, some colleges, if you're taking the dual enrollment in a local community college, you have to check whether the colleges you're interested in are going to give you credit for those community college classes. Some of them don't. So some of the colleges will not take a credit from a local community college that a student has taken dual enrollment. However, what it does show, and this regardless of whether they take the credit or not, it does show rigor of your classes. And so that can be an advantage in the admissions process. It depends what you're going for. If you're going for the credit and the enhanced admissions, or you're just going for the enhanced admission. Or just the credit. Okay. If I am in 10th grade, I'm not ready for the college process. Will the $500 discount come again next year, or is this the last and final discount opportunity? That's a good question. I can't completely answer that. We don't know what tomorrow will bring. Of course, I want to be as helpful as I can. And, but if you're in 10th grade, I can definitely start. It's not about, in 10th grade doing 11th grade stuff. When I work with 10th grade students, and I work with a lot of 10th grade students, we are just doing things like checking on, making sure that there are no academic gaps. We're helping you plan your extracurriculars. We're helping you plan your summer. We're helping you to apply to any programs. We're helping you identify your talents. So there's a lot we can do in 10th grade. And that discount, if we start working this year, will definitely apply for that talent development package, which is the 10th grade package. But feel free to keep my name and be in touch. I love to hear from students. Okay, and then Mary Grace, would you please speak a bit on how you approach e-school students, also experience you have with faith-based college and liberal arts degrees followed by grad school. Okay, so e-schooled, I imagine you mean homeschooled students who are taking online classes. So I have experience with homeschool students. It's a slightly different process in the sense that when it's time to submit the applications, homeschool students have, I have them submit a portfolio to back up everything that is on their transcript and on their resume. So yes, I do have experience with that. I'm working with a number of homeschool families right now. And then with faith-based colleges, I have students for whom that is a very important aspect. Their spiritual life is one of their most important criteria for applying to college. So yes, I have had students in that situation, absolutely. And then liberal arts degrees followed by grad school. That's a very interesting point because many of the really top liberal arts schools in the country have a very good track record with admission to grad school. Carleton College, for example. It's just one example. But, the number of students who end up with PhDs coming from some liberal arts colleges can be very, very high, and I do have a lot of experience with that. Okay, Anthony, what would applications for colleges like MIT look like, and what would a college like that look for in an application? Okay, so these are the most selective colleges in the country. That means that when you optimize your applications, you optimize them, every single aspect of the application, which is what I do with every single student, whether they're applying to MIT or not, because the students who are not applying to MIT or highly selective schools, they still are going for the best school that is the best fit for them. And, usually they want to maximize their scholarship opportunities. So that happens, right? You need to maximize optimize every single aspect of the application. And I describe those aspects in the blueprint, which is my package for comprehensive and premium. What happens is, if I think you are a candidate for one of those schools, then by doing that work and optimizing every aspect of the application, you get a ticket to the lottery, because schools that have admission rates, under 10%, you're pretty much participating in a lottery. However, in order to even have a chance at the lottery, you have to have an outstanding application. And that's how it works. And if you understand that from the beginning, you can align your expectations with, it has nothing to do with a student's achievements at that point when we're talking about that lottery process. Because as a Princeton interviewer, I learned that colleges, most selective colleges in the country, can admit 10 or 15 equally qualified freshman classes. What does that actually mean? It means that who is going to get a spot in one of those highly selective schools? It's going to depend on factors that you have no control over. Things like, do they need a clarinetist that year for their jazz group? Do they need, an international student who, I don't know, is a horseback riding champion? Because they're putting together a class and they're trying to fit people. It's not like paint by numbers or fitting people in slots like that, but it's trying to create a diverse and exciting freshman class with people who are offering all sorts of different things. So if 10 people apply with the same background, even if it's unusual, they're only going to, for that one slot, they're not going to take 10 horseback riding champions, right? So then it's going to be like, which one fits into the slot? And that's why I encourage you, if you're applying to highly selective schools like that, to adjust your expectations accordingly, and to have a different perspective on the process, which is, college is one step in designing a life of purpose. It's great to go to MIT. I went to Princeton. It's great, right? Of course, at the time it was very different. The admission process was very different. However, what I'm trying to say is align with where you want to go, or if parents, help the kids align with what they really care about, where they want to go. And remember those studies that show that it's fit, not rank, that predicts college success. Okay, long answer, Anthony. I hope that was helpful. Okay, Lynette. My daughter's at a very small rural high school with limited extracurricular options. She's pursuing what's available, but that might not match an eventual major. Do you have any suggestions? Yeah, so look beyond the confines of the school. Extracurricular doesn't mean a club that's school run necessarily, right? It can be all sorts of things. The idea is to match. Help her identify her talents, and then put her in opportunities, in situations where she can, first of all, test out, does she really like that? And also, it can be volunteer activities. There are even a lot of online volunteer activities. But the idea is you have to fit those activities, or even, a job, or anything can be an extracurricular, really. The idea is to help the student understand themselves, understand what they really care about, what they're good at, through these life experiences. So it does not have to be in the school. Okay. Janelyn, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, but that's my best shot. When would be the best time to start writing essays, and when are prompts usually available? Okay, so I have students start writing essays in the spring of junior year. Prompts, most of them don't change year to year, some of them do. There are years where suddenly, instead of 90% being the same as last year, then 84% are the same. But most of the prompts generally, tend to be the same. Also, you can recycle essays from one college to another by tweaking. So I would go with that, and then the Common App opens on August 1st. A lot of the prompts then are visible, the updated prompts, right? Around then. Some colleges have prompts that come out, the new prompts in July. Some of them come out a little bit later, with updates. But generally, it's the middle of the summer, when they come out. But I do not have students wait till then because then it's too stressful for them. Okay. Emily. Yes. You would like to become an actress. Unconventional, yes. How would your steps differ compared to a more traditional student? What should I be doing in my junior year and senior year to make sure my application is well-rounded and stand out? Okay, and focus around acting. So I have worked with a number of performing arts students, theater, musical theater, voice, etc., etc. And there are certain things that you can do, to be sure that your opportunities that you use the opportunities you have in acting, right? In theater, there are all sorts of things. Try to also combine your skills with how those talents can benefit your community. Think outside the box. And how can you do a fundraiser? Can you organize a talent show? Can you, there are all sorts of creative ways. I had a student last year who is now majoring in communication, who happened to be a very good singer and a composer. He raised over $20,000 online by organizing concerts. These were fundraisers for first responders, COVID first responders. And he had a knack for getting people together. There are many different things that you can do. I have also a background in the arts, so I would be very happy to help guide you through this process if that's something that you think would be useful. I'm even hired by other counselors to work with art students. So feel free to connect with me. Okay, HBCU colleges, Denzel. Absolutely. The important thing is it's got to be a college that is going to be a place where you feel you're going to thrive. That's the most important thing, because then, that is going to help you succeed. We want you to succeed, in college, beyond college. So that can be a fantastic opportunity for some students. So definitely look into them. Okay. If we do internships within the field we're interested in, would that help make up for possible holes in our application, such as rank, GPA, or would these holes automatically put me at severe disadvantage compared to my peers? You have a graduating class of 1,000 people, many of whom are very competitive, so it really worries me. Well, this is all about the perfect match college list. If you align your perfect match college list with your possibilities, then you can do very well. And yes, those activities can definitely come into play. But be sure that you're applying to colleges where it's not only the preferences that you have, but look at the admission trends data. And be sure that your GPA, et cetera, is in line. Now, there are some exceptions to that, and that's why I find it very important to work directly with a student, to interview them, to see The student that I mentioned who did that fundraiser, those fundraisers last year, he was had borderline C and B to B average, and he was admitted to Tulane early decision. He did not expect that, but he made an impact in his community. So there are exceptions to this rule, but again, in order to be able to advise you about that perfect match college list and what those chances are, because we have to have that list has to be balanced between likely, target, reach, and sometimes students apply to far reach schools. So if you do that, you will be in good shape. Okay. My daughter and son, I know we're getting toward the end of this, Sydney. We're getting, you had said 7:25, so I'm a little concerned. Can you just message me and tell me if I can keep answering these questions, or if we will have to have people connect with me offline? Let me know what you think, Sydney. So I'm gonna, yes. Okay, so this is going to be the last question, and then please, if I haven't gotten to your, I haven't answered your question, please do connect with me offline. I shared my email address as well, and you have the link if you are interested in working with me. Okay, Noah, can you further elaborate on college rolling admissions, and what does this really mean? So colleges, some of them state we are rolling admissions, which means that as they receive applications, they are reading those applications and they're making decisions about whether that student is going to be offered admission. Generally, it's whether they're going to be offered admission, denied admission, or deferred until later. That's generally how it works. Some colleges don't do the deferral. So what that means is the earlier you are in, you're in a better position, because they are trying to fill up their classes as applications come in. Whereas if a college is not doing rolling admissions, they're waiting until everybody submits their application before the deadline, and then they're reading everybody together. So that's the main difference. I hope that that's helpful. Anyway, thank you so very much. Thank you, Sydney, for being a great moderator. Thank you all for being here. I'm so glad that I was able to share this material with you. I hope you found it helpful, and I look forward to connecting with you, very, very soon. So take good care, and I wish you all wonderful success, whether it's with your own applications or your kids. I hope to see you very, very soon. Somebody's asking in the chat for contact info. So just before I go, Sydney, could you put that link in again, please? And I will also put my email again in the chat. Okay. Very good. Thank you.